the defense put a stop to that today. Richie.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. I think it's safe to say that there's such things as a dominating defensive performance, but on the other hand, there's such a thing as a flat-out dominant defense, and the Bobcats are starting to become the latter at this point in the season. The Bobcats defense absolutely smothering, held NAU to just 49 yards rushing, and when you look at the defensive line, huge afternoon for them. 5 sacks on the day, including 3 by Brad Daly, who vaults straight to the top of the Big Sky Conference in that category, and everyone in the locker room agrees it's great to see number 41 back on the football field.
It feels great to be back. It feels really good to be back. I love the work, but I love this a whole lot more, you know.
You just kind of have a respect for your opponent and just come out and play every week.
So again, just an all-around impressive performance by the Bobcats defense. When you look at it again, 5 sacks. They hold that rushing attack of NAU to just 49 yards. And how about the key interception late in that ball game that eventually would seal the victory for Montana State? The scary thing is, though, during those post-game interviews, I asked both Daly and Schreibeis where they thought this defense was in terms of clicking on all cylinders near 100%. Both players agreed they're nowhere close. So you can expect this defense to just continue to get better as this Big Sky Conference season rolls on. That's a look at the defense. Sonny, Ted.
Welcome back to the Bobcat Postgame Show on MTN, the Montana Television Network.
Welcome back to the Bobcats postgame show where players and coaches praise the fans for some help with that win against NAU today, which leads us to this week's superfan. Jeff Kelly, currently off taking some meteorology classes, so fellow forecasters Mike Hurd and Adam Bell had to step into the superfan's shoes for this weekend.
Hello everyone, superfan.
2 things there. I noticed Adam rocking the Bobcats jersey. Haven't seen his name on a roster so far this season. Plus, speaking of the roster, Ted, you wanted me to try and pronounce the name of the guy with the interception. Yeah. Moiakiola. And that interception right there had these superfans on their feet. Back to you guys.
Richie did a great job. He did a much better job with it than I did, I'll tell you that.
Boy, no kidding. I get tangled up on that one.
That's why I like him down the stretch.
Richie, best you've seen him?
Yeah, definitely. On the offensive side of the football, as far as defense is concerned, they just got to shore up those 2 big plays that allowed NAU touchdowns. But other than that, it was a dominating performance.
Richie will be in Northern Colorado reporting for us. We'll all be back here next week at 10:30 for the Bobcat Postgame Show. Hope you join us then. Thanks, guys.
There's really no way around it. Let's go back to last week in Greeley, Colorado, where it was pretty much a letdown. Offense couldn't get the spark to put points up on the scoreboard. Defense let the Bears hang around in that ball game. Special teams actually performed better than we've been used to seeing. But again, you look at that defense, Northern Colorado just kept getting a couple big plays, churning out some first downs and sticking around in that ball game. So you turn around, you come back home to Bobcat Stadium, you face one of the other worst teams in the Big Sky Conference, and you pretty much shut them down. 1 big play for a touchdown, then the second teams and third teams, they give up another one right there, but you got to be pretty pleased with that side of the football, especially winning that turnover battle, as we've talked about all season long. However, there's no way around it, and I know we'll get to this later on in the show, but the return of Mike Kramer to Bobcat Stadium, where some of these guys were actually recruited by the big guy here in Bozeman, but when you look right at it, weren't worried about that, not a single bit.
No, not. I mean, he recruited us, like me and Alex and a few of the guys, but we never got to play for him. I mean, 8 wins is supposed to be the magic number, but we're worried about Weber State next week, and then obviously the showdown at the end of the year.
So again, you give up only 2 scores on the defensive side of the football, a pretty impressive performance right there. One thing that still worries me, and I said this on the sideline leading into this football game, the Cats defense has tendencies to give up at least 1 big passing play that'll end up leading to a touchdown, and we saw Kevin Yost and the Bengals offense do just that. However, we knew they were going to chuck it coming into this football game, and that defensive line, their eyes continue to light up every time they get in that situation. Ted, Sonny?
Thanks, Richie. Well, let's check in with our resident Bobcat expert, Coulter Nuanez, the Bobcat beat writer for the Bozeman Chronicle. Richie.
Guys, you forgot award-winning Bobcats beat writer for the Bozeman Chronicle right here. Absolutely, Coulter Nuanez. Thanks for joining us as always. First things first, we got to get it out of the way. You were in that press game post-conference. They bring in Idaho State head coach Mike Kramer. A lot of one-word answers. I know we're going to hear from him in just a minute, but at first when the reporters, everybody was asking him questions, he wasn't giving us much.
It was disappointing because honestly Mike Kramer is one of my favorite quotes in the entire Big Sky Conference, so I was expecting a little more. I needed something for my stories.
And then there were 2. Richie, Weber State looked like a contender until today.
Not the case at this point anymore. The Grizz, as we kind of expected, moving inside that top 10 in the country right now. and they just were all over, running the football, passing the football everywhere. Jordy Johnson, I think, had 4 touchdowns in the first half against Weber State. Javen Zambrano, you're going to see him in just a second here, for a school record, tied a school record, 4 receiving touchdowns for him right there.
And in the first half.
First half, yeah. Jordy Johnson had those 4 touchdowns. Javen Zambrano has 4 touchdown receptions. I mean, you look at this, and the Grizz just stomped the Weber State defense.
The Cats have struggled against them recently and now have to go down there next week and play.
And I think that's the worst part about it. The Cats have to go on the road. We saw what they did in Greeley. They're definitely going to have to come out a little more fired up than they were in some of these road games so far.
All right, well, it is turf down there.
All right. Well, let's go to Richie Melby now to talk about the defense. Richie.
Thanks, guys. What's the old saying? There's always next week, or more likely the week after that, once we do get into the FCS playoffs. But look, not a lot of pros that they can take away from that defensive performance against the Grizz today. I mean, you look at it right there, and I know Colter Nuanez is going to come in and talk some stats right now, but they give up over 300 yards rushing, which we haven't seen from this defense all season long. They're always shutting down the opposing team's ground game, and they do a good job against them. That was not the case here today, and as a matter of fact, you know, they put up 36 points, one of the most that they've had all season put on them right there, and this was a game that they definitely wanted to win. We talked to them in the press conference afterwards, and they just said, you know what, we'll have to go back and watch the tape. We'll have to go back and watch the tape. Not a lot of good talk going on in that press conference, but here's what the defense had to say about their performance.
I mean, I don't know. I can't explain it right now. We'll have to go back and look at the tape.
Look, there's really no way around it. This Montana State football team got beat at their own game in this 111th Cat Grizz rivalry right there. We're used to seeing Cody Kirk and Trey Robinson, those boys putting up the rushing yards. This time it was Dan Moore, Peter Wynn, and the Grizz that actually outperformed them right there. However, talking with these players, was it important to play a game like that before they head into the FCS playoffs? Absolutely. As Scott already mentioned, of course, the team will get together tomorrow and find out who they will face in the playoffs. But again, they're trying to take a positive spin on this game right here and make sure that they get a little bit momentum going forward into the playoffs. Ted, Sonny?
I really, truly believe that the Cats will get a home game, and so will the Grizz.
I would think that they'd be both at home 2 weeks from now playing in that first-round opponent. Of course, if we're talking about Montana State, this is exactly where they exited the postseason last year, that North Dakota State team that ended up knocking them out. So not only do they have a sour taste from their mouth coming off at Cat Grizz, they've still got a playoff sour taste from their mouth coming off that 2010 football season.
And that was a bye week, too. So now they're likely going to get forced into another bye week.
All right, Richie, you are the closest guy here to the player's age. How are they going to respond?
Well, I think Colter had talked about it a little bit right there, saying that Coach Ash, and he was in that press conference, he was trying to make a positive spin on it. I think if the Cats players, the one negative that you have to take away from this is just how they were beat. They were beat at their own game, as Colter and I had both mentioned earlier, I think. So they're going to try and come out and prove something once they find out who they play tomorrow. 2 weeks from now, likely when that football game will be. I think they'll be fired up.
Guys, it's been a great season. Thanks for all your help, Sonny. It's been great being with you.
bet,
Let's hope this thing isn't over, okay?
All right.